Alright, all that's left to do now is to drill the holes for the bolt, and we're going to eyeball this the same way I've eyeballed everything else so far. First I want to see if I can't get it as close to center, the x-axis. That looks pretty good. And I'm going to do the same thing for the y. That looks okay. Alright, so there's the finished product. If I had to remake this again, I would just, these tangs that I made on the end here, I would mill these flat areas down a little further because I forgot to account for the clearance needed for the edge of these link pieces. But it turns out that if I just leave the bolts loose enough, I think that'll be okay. And if it gives me any trouble, then I will just throw these back in the mill and mill that flat a little bit further down. Other than that, I'm actually pretty pleased with the way it looks. Now the question is, how's it going to perform? First thing I'm going to be curious to see is whether or not this is going to be a pain to put in, install. I'm going to put a little oil where that center point's going to ride. Alright, now I'm just going to get a little something to pry on these jaws just a little bit, make sure they're fully seated outward, and it looks like they are. Boy, that's looking a lot better. The geometry looks all correct and everything. Ooh. Well, it's pretty late. Kids are asleep, so I'm going to not use the impact wrench. I'm going to just use this socket wrench, and I'm probably going to end up, if this doesn't break free fairly easily, I'm probably just going to leave it under tension overnight and see what happens when I come back down tomorrow. I do need something in here to kind of help counteract the twist that's trying to happen here. You know what? I'm going to have safety glasses on for this. Better leverage with this. It's amazing to me how tight that is. I was told I might still have to put some heat to this thing to get this to break out, and that what I really should use is my oxyacetylene torch, but I should have a heating tip on it, and fortunately I don't have one of those for my torch, so I got to be real careful if I decide to try and use just one of the welding tips. Probably not a good idea. I really need to invest in a heating tip or a, what they call it, a rosebud. Oh, I think it's moving. It's moving. I was told once it starts moving not to stop. Not bad. Not bad, if I do say so myself. I might have to still use the puller on this thing. Well, at this point I know it's going to come out, so I'm going to stop there for tonight, guys, because it is so humid down here. I'm sweating through this shirt. I just want to go relax. Well, I reinstalled the puller after the excitement of last night because I realized that I still have a little bit more length here that I can use to get this thing out before I have to resort to something else. It's going a little crooked on me. The impact driver is just too violent. The carrier is out far enough now so that the shaft is no longer supported by the bearing, so it's kind of flopping around. And since the shaft is what I'm using as bearing surface for the puller, it doesn't help matters. I got a couple of wedges I can stick in there. Similar problem that I was having before. The damn thing wants to tip over. Now I know why you shouldn't stop once it starts pulling out. Steve, it's future Steve. Stop what you're doing. Get a flashlight and look down the hole. Then you'll see what's wrong. Stop. Probably blocking the camera shot, but this angle just happens to be working for me right now. Wow. I just broke the bearing carrier. Son of a... Alright, I gotta walk away from this because... Alright, well, I think one of the mistakes I may have made was that I didn't get all of this debris out of here. This is like, well, probably sand by the looks of it. Okay, that's piled in there. And on the other side, I've actually got the shavings, the swarf from the drilling process when I was drilling those holes in the old carrier nut. So it's quite possible that as that was pulling out, that maybe some of that sand and stuff worked its way in between the inside of the case and the side walls of that carrier, and maybe wedging the thing in there. Or it could be that the thing's just so, it's just that tight. The other unfortunate thing is, well, actually that's part of the carrier nut. Yeah. So the this piece maybe went flying, and if I find it, that may have just broken as one piece. So I might actually still be able to weld it, as if I don't have enough welding to do on this thing as it is with all those cracks. Yeah, I know. I mean, probably the better use of my time would be probably spent in tracking down a good used gear case, but the cheapest one on eBay now is, I think, still around $250, $300. So I'm not ready to go that route just yet. Yeah, so what I should have done is I should have cleaned that out before I started pulling. And then, the whole time I was pulling this thing, I should have been putting some lubricant down there. Oh man. Get on it with this puller now. This puller was close the other night when I tried it, just to see if it would fit. Maybe I pulled it now enough so I can get this puller on. Yeah, it just fits now. Alright, position the jaws closer to the trusses here. These trusses have an angled web on the bottom here. That's why it was so hard for me to try and get those those chain links to align up correctly. Still doesn't seem to want to be coming out though. Hey, I think there's another broken piece of that nut actually wedged in here. Son of a gun. No wonder why it broke. A piece of the broken nut got stuck in there. So the whole thing, actually, I didn't even realize that the whole thing was cocked to one side. Oh, that stinks. So it wasn't that I was pulling it wrong. It's that this piece of the broken nut got stuck in there. There's actually a port coming from up here. It actually fell into the port, of all places, and was jammed right in there. What rotten luck. So right here, there's a port. And it's probably for water. Or exhaust, I don't know which. Anyways, the broken piece of the nut fell in there. So part of it was sticking in there, and part of it was sticking on top of the case here. And that's what was jamming it up. Oh boy, if I had spotted that in time and gotten that out of there, this thing would have been out of there in one piece by now. I can't believe this. I wonder if this is actually so loose that I can pull it out by hand. No, it's not that loose yet. But it's very loose. Very free moving now. I bet you I'm going to be able to pull it off with this puller, no problem. You can see the whole thing actually just twisted a little bit, I think. Oh. Look at that pulling right up. Nothing. What do I feel? Dumb. No wonder why my improvised puller kept cocking to one side, because the whole carrier was cocking to one side because one side kept trying to come out and the other side was being pinned down by that broken piece of the nut. Oh. That looks less than wonderful inside there. We are looking at some rust. You know what though? These dogs look good and the teeth aren't broken. It's got that going for it upon first examination. Now, supposedly there's a key in here that you're supposed to make sure you don't lose. That's weird, I don't see it. Maybe that's on other models. Oh yeah, that's the exhaust port right there. So there's a section of the exhaust port there is where it was wedged into. Now that I've got the carrier out, of course, all of the swarf from my drilling is falling out of the exhaust port into my gears. Not that that matters, because that's going to all have to come out and be cleaned. I can see rust on everything in there. the good news is I would just wrote a comment to James, one of the contributors on, I private messaged him and thanked him for sending me the replacement carrier nut that I'm going to need if I can get this together. And I had mentioned to him my fear was that what if one of these cracks runs right through the area where the sealing surface is for the seal on the gear case there, and lo and behold, I can see that there's actually a sleeve that's probably pressed in there that must act as that surface that I was concerned about. So that's probably steel as opposed to the aluminum housing. I mean, I'm no expert, but that's what I'm thinking. I think at this point in the video, I'm going to insert some still photos.